Hello everybody and welcome to the Redline Solutions educational webinar series. I'd like to give a big thank you to everybody joining us this morning, which will be a really great session. Our topic today is how to grow profits through operational efficiencies, and we're pleased to have our very own CEO, Todd Baggett, taking the session this morning. So before I kick off, there's a few little housekeeping things. All your mics are muted. Throughout the webinar, there will be a Q&A session at the end. Please feel free to enter questions in the box at the bottom right as they come up, and we will address them as time permits when we get to the Q&A session. So the other thing is that this whole webinar will be recorded and put onto the website, and we will follow up with an email to tell you where it is. But just please feel free to look at the site anytime you want to. It should be up by the end of the week. And without further ado, I will pass the session over to Todd.
Very good. Well, thank you, Adrian, and welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. As Adrian said, we're going to be covering the topic of how to grow profits through operational efficiency. As he said, also, my name is Todd Baggett. I'm the CEO of Redline Solutions. And our agenda today is I'll give you a brief overview of Redline Solutions. We'll talk about the changing customer and FSMA demands. We'll talk about advances in data collection and recording. We'll also be looking at operational process comparisons, looking at system benefits and challenges of both automated and manual systems. We'll be looking at an integrated approach through Redline software, and also talk about some recommended hardware for cooler and packing operations. And we'll wind up the session with some Q&A. So with that, into the introduction. So I started Redline back in 1997, and our headquarters are in Santa Clara, California. We are the leaders in inventory, packing, and traceability solutions, and I am an active participant in the PTI Leadership Council. I actually co-chair the technology working group that set a lot of the labeling and pallet standards. We have hundreds of customer sites across North America. In this map, you'll see a whole bunch of green dots, and those are all customer sites for us. Of those customers, we're handling over 550 million cartons per year, and we were honored in December by Food Logistics as one of the top 100 software and technology providers for 2015. And back in 2014, we had actually won the award from Frost & Sullivan as the Produce Traceability Partner of the Year. So what we do as Redline is we provide systems that have a complete range of functionality for inventory, productivity, and traceability compliance. We provide all of the hardware from leading manufacturers. We do on-site training and installation. We'll do consulting if you need some consulting services, and we actually install and support everything that we sell. On the hardware side, we actually will manage your warranty and contract service for you, and we provide bin, tote, case, and pallet labels. This is a view of some of our customers, and probably what's most important here is that they're from not only all over North America, but also all kinds of different commodities and different styles of operations. Our partnerships on the hardware side include Honeywell, which is a manufacturer of barcode printers, scanners, mobile devices, and we are a platinum partner, which is the highest level partner with them. And we're also partners with Zebra Technologies, and we are a premier partner, which is the highest level partner with them. Why that's important is that we understand the hardware and we also understand the software, so we're able to make sure everything works smoothly together. On the integration side, we have integrations into Famous and Computech, and we are also a Microsoft development partner. We work with major trade associations across North America, including the PMA, CPMA, United Fresh, and then some of the regional ones, including the Grower Shipper Association, Western Growers, and the Wisconsin Potato and Vegetable Association. So let's take a look into what's going on in the marketplace here. Really, what's driving the demand is foodborne illness, and you've probably seen this slide before or something similar if you've been paying attention to food safety, that the CDC, or Center for Disease Control, came out with a study that said 1 in 6 Americans, or 48 million per year, will get sick with a foodborne illness. 128,000 require hospitalization and 3,000 die. Most common cause is salmonella, and we've seen some other nasty things come up in the last few years, including listeria and some E. coli outbreaks as well. Approximately 22% of the foodborne illnesses are associated with produce. And why that's important is if you look at your annual produce consumption in the U.S., the average person consumes over 697 pounds per year. And that was from the Foundation for Better Health, as published in a study they did in 2014. Below what I'm showing is some of the significant produce-related recalls over the past decade. And really, more than anything, there were two in my mind, or my opinion, that were most responsible for the current FSMA regulations that we have today. The first was really kind of the 9/11 of produce food safety, and that was the 2006 E. coli outbreak in spinach, in which 199 illnesses were caused, and there were 3 deaths. Probably the one that put it most on the federal agenda was the U.S. Salmonella that was actually in peanut butter in 2009, and in that one, 388 people were infected in 42 states, and the officers of that company were actually found guilty of shipping product they knew was intentionally was adulterated, and took that across state lines. So some of these increasing pressures that you guys are facing in this area really include customer packing and labeling requirements. And if you think about that, you know, we have a lot of retailers who request that you pack in RPCs, or they may have labeling traceability labeling requirements. With FSMA regulations coming on board as well, we're going to have a situation where more and more of the items that come in will be focused on regulation and how we're going to comply with that regulation from FSMA. Those all start over the next 2 years rolling in. We're also facing a lot of labor shortages, as well as new labor regulation that has to do with piece rate counts and how you pay your employees during rest periods. Not to mention the trucking shortages that we've been dealing with for the last few years. So there's all these different things that are squeezing growers, shippers, and distributors, and really today we want to look at some of the things that you can do to actually relieve some of that pressure. So, you know, one of the questions that people ask is, why is operational automation so important? Well, really, probably the primary reason is it gives you insight into your operations so that you can see what's going on and can make improvements that reduce costs, improve your efficiencies, and better manage your inventory. They also help you grow your supply chain partner and the revenue associated with that, including new customers who say, hey, I need somebody who has food safety and traceability on board before we bring them in as a new vendor. Again, that has to do with not only food safety, but also labeling. And in some cases, there's retailers who have pretty tight recall windows. I've been told that Costco conducts traceability reviews with their customers and do mock recalls, and all of those have to be done within a 2-hour time frame. So ultimately, traceability should not be considered an added cost, but an enabler of your company's long-term success. So let's look at some of the efficiency gains. Probably the most notable is on the labor savings, and what we've seen historically in the 100 plus coolers that we've installed is on average they're saving over 25% in labor in those operations. That labor savings comes from being able to identify product locations. It also comes into play for better inventory management and allows you to eliminate the need of doing daily holdover counts, as well as general higher productivity and allowing you to reduce or eliminate your overtime. We also see improved speed and accuracy in order fulfillment. And really, when you start to scan things with a barcode scanner at the point of picking, you can eliminate almost all of those errors. What we also see is having a real-time connection to the host allows you to see the most updated changes to those orders. As we all know, sometimes the customer will call and add some product or take some product out, and if you printed that pick list early in the morning, it may not be accurate anymore. Also, we have the ability to provide visibility to order notes and line item notes, and these allow us to basically communicate to the people who will be fulfilling the order on how to get it right. It might be something as simple as add corner boards, or it may say something else like, hey, if we're shipping tomatoes, let's get the greenest tomatoes that we have. The last thing here is the visibility to direct match versus substitutions. We all know some customers will allow substitutions and others won't. In our systems, we give you a visibility to see, is this a direct match to the item ordered, or is there actually a substitution going on, and you can make better decisions based on that. Lastly here, we have our savings calculator, and I put a link in here. What this is something that anybody can go in and spend about 5 minutes entering some data about your operations and get an idea of what your payback would be if you automated the cooler and shipping operations. Now let's also talk about automating processes. You know, one of the first areas that we often look at is the labeling of product. Instead of doing a whole bunch of handwritten labels, going to a more automated system. And you'll notice on this label we have a barcode. Once we have that barcode, we can also automate the capture of that information, either through what we call a wedge scanner that plugs into your PC, or through a mobile computer that actually is running its own programs and communicating with other systems. At the end of the day, what you need is the software that's going to drive this, that's going to manage your inventory and help you track what's going on. The software is really the most important component of any system, and some of the important functions include your database management, your inventory management, your traceability, label printing, reporting, and most of all, in the FSMA era to come, electronic records. So some of the key functions really include things like managing your inventory, managing your packing operations, managing the product labeling, and then also just managing the operations themselves. This includes loading master data. This includes having screens that are in your workers' native language, and the ability to do updates and get remote support. Key to any produce software is it must be flexible enough to fit into your processes, and it has to be easy to use. So let's take a quick look, as we've talked about FSMA, at the GS1 Traceability Labels. These ones are not quite at the point where they're required by FSMA, but we do have retailers, large retailers, including Walmart and Whole Foods, who do require these labels today. This one is an adaptation that was actually made by Walmart for RPCs. And what we've seen is a whole bunch of other companies, including Loblaws and Safeway and Kroger's, have adopted the RPC label and are requiring the PTI label on all of their RPCs so that they know the pack date to better manage the inventory in the store. Some of the key decisions that you'll need to make when you get to doing GS1 traceability labels for customers are: what printer are you going to use? What software are you going to use? How do you select the right label for your application? What do you do about parts and repairs? And what do you do about accessories that help enable the process? And this could include things like printer applicators, rewinders, hand applicators, as we see here on the bottom. Now we're going to take a little look at manual systems here, and we're going to do some comparison to how those line up against some of the more automated systems. You know, really in a manual system, the key is there's the all-important paper packet, and this includes all the documents associated with that part of the order. Could be the receiving the grower ticket, it could be your packing orders, it could be inspection reports, grower tags, pack sheets, any number of the above. And they're all held together by a paper clip, folder, or a packet. And if that packet gets lost, you're in trouble. Sometimes important data actually will get entered into spreadsheets, and that can be time-consuming, but certainly is a good step in the right direction from having electronic records. Normally, the manual packets are put into a filing cabinet, and the challenge is sometimes the mistakes that happen in the manual processes are not validated until after the process has occurred. These could be errors in items, lot numbers, quantity weights, reference numbers, sources, or other. So here's a kind of a quick overview of manual systems, and really kind of from receiving, packing, inventory, the sales orders, the shipping, and the invoicing. And the big challenge that I see here is like a bucket with lots of holes in it, you have leakage. And what you're leaking here is you're leaking data and knowledge. Manual record storage is also problematic. Not only can the paper packets tie all the dots together, but when they get misfiled or lost or destroyed, you've got a big problem. So retrieving these records can always be a challenge. So in the reality, manual systems were good enough yesterday, and they increase your risk today, and they really just won't cut it in the future FSMA days. So now let's take a look at automated systems. And the key of an automated system here is actually tying it all together and connecting all these different processes via software. And that software not only handles each step, but it also validates known information from the prior step. In some cases, that software may actually exist in the cloud. In other cases, it may be an in-premise server or machine that you have there. So let's look at some of the comparisons between manual systems and automated systems. So one of the key things at receiving is you get your grower ranch tag and you bring that in. In an automated environment, you still have that information, but you can also capture field, commodity, all of the key information about lot numbers right into the system from the beginning. Instead of doing a handwritten bulk inventory tag that identifies what it is and may have one tag for many bins, you have the ability to go in and print a system-generated inventory tag with a barcode on it, and therefore anytime in the future when you need to have information about that bin, you can scan the barcode and connect back into its source information. Also in receiving in manual systems, there's usually no location being recorded, or if it is being recorded, there's going to be a clipboard hanging by the side of the door to say this is where the product is. While that works when you're not busy, the challenge is when you get busy, those often don't get updated, which makes it even harder to find product. Now let's take a peek at the packing operations. You know, both of them start with having a plan for your packing run. The difference is in manual systems, that's often communicated via a grease board or someone radioing to the workers, as opposed to being able to see it in the system itself. You also have to go and look through the bulk storage to find the desired items. When you've scanned a bin tag and tied it to a location, you can be directed to go exactly to the items that you need, and you know how many bins you need for that pack order. You also can bring the product to the line with limited visibility or just manual validation. So you're counting on the worker who brought that product to the line to have picked the right one. Whereas in an automated system, again, you can scan that at the pickup location to validate you've got the right product and lot number. In manual systems, you're often applying those labels manually, whereas in packing systems, you can select items and have the system generate case labels or packing tags, or pallet tags, I should say. Also, in manual systems, normally your pack out is going to be a manual tally. You're going to have hash marks saying, I've got this many pallets or this many cartons that I've created, whereas in a automated system, the system calculates your pack out for you. Also, your recording of source lot and pack lot in a manual environment is subject to errors and or transpositions, where in a scan system, you're positively identifying the right source and lots and also validating them before they go into the system. Last couple items here is in a manual system, you're recording, who was there that particular day, which line did this product run on, which workers were there, whereas an automated system that can all be taken care of for you in the software. And the last area is when you have workers who may be doing piece count, either it's an incentive pay or you're just doing piece counts to know what their production is. They're keeping track themselves on typically a little clicker, and you may have your own method of keeping track, but both of them are manual. In an automated system, the system records those tally counts for you. Now let's look at storage, or the actual placing the product into the cooler. In manual systems, again, locations are often not recorded, whereas in automated systems, you can scan the pallet and scan the location and instantly update the system. Also, those inventory locations and counts are also recorded on paper and may take some time to get added into the system or updated, whereas when they're scanned in real time, all of that happens automatically in real time. In manual systems, you're actually searching for the specific product, whereas in automated systems, the system can be telling you where to find that product. And in manual systems, you're often doing daily inventory counts to know what your holdover is and what your product rotation is, and often doing manual product rotations at the end of the day. In automated systems, you have a perpetual view of your inventory with first in, first out visibility, so you can actually drive that directly from the system. Last couple things here is, in a manual system, the sales visibility is generally them walking out to the warehouse or calling down on the radio or a phone saying, what do you got? Whereas in automated systems, the sales department can see in real time what's available, so they feel confident in the commitments they make to the customers on product they can ship today. Again, in manual systems, there's no location history, whereas in automated systems, you do have that. And where that comes into play is sometimes you'll have an HVAC issue or a leak or something that's causing a problem in a specific location, and you're having product rejected because of that. If you have the history of that location, you can ideally go back and see what location the problem product was from, and if you're seeing multiple items from the same area, investigate that area. Last thing is, in manual systems, if you've got a product you've got to hold, you've got to really do a physical separation, whereas in an automated system, you can put a hold on in the system, and simply when someone goes to scan it, it'll say that's not available. Kind of going into order fulfillment, again, we have manual or printed pick lists, and in automated, we have printed or electronic pick lists. In manual systems, the orders and loads are validated either on the dock or after the loading at checkout, whereas in automated systems, the validation occurs where the item is picked. Therefore, if there's an error, all the extra time beyond that is removed from continuing that error and correcting that error. Also in manual systems, you're recording pallets and quantities, whereas in automated, when you scan the pallet tag, it gives you what the system quantity is, and if you need to, you can overwrite that. In manual systems, one of the big challenges I see is that when you have a large order, it might have 452 cartons on it, and each pallet may have 60, 65 cartons on it. You've got forklift drivers doing reverse math to figure out how many more cartons or pallets they need to get. Whereas in an automated system, it'll automatically count you down on your order fulfillment. Manual systems, you'll have handwritten truck inspections, whereas in automated, you can have electronic truck inspections. And lastly, your manual system, you'll have a manual record of the shipment, including the date, time, and who did it, whereas in an automated system, you know exactly who that is from the login and the system time reported of the transaction. Last area I want to look at here is recalls or mock recalls. And in manual systems, you're often going back to find that data that's in the file cabinet, whereas in an automated system, you can literally go in there, key in the key information, and have it pull up instantly for you. Instead of having to search through all the manual records to see who got the suspected lot, in an automated system, it can pull that up for you in seconds. In a manual system, depending on how large the recall or scope of a mock recall is, the research can take you days to weeks, whereas in an automated system, we're talking seconds to minutes. So to give you an example of this, I wanted to share something that we saw in the past with a strawberry grower that we were working with. As we started working with them in our field product, they told us that their cut to cool on average is about 45 minutes, but as we started tracking that, we saw that it was actually 75 minutes, and that makes a difference in a strawberry in the heat of the summer on how that shelf life is going to be for the product. They also had an event where they actually had a pallet that was packed in the field but never made it to the cooler. They were able to identify which pallet, what time, and track it back to the crew and driver. And in this case, they basically said, hey guys, we wanted to let you know we saw this, we have visibility of these things, and after that, they didn't have any other pallets disappear. So now let's take an integrated approach using Redline software. Again, this is an overview of our applications here. They really range from the field, and I'll get into specific examples from the harvest to the packing to cooler operations to compliance, and now our My Produce. All these systems are PTI compliant. They are barcode and driven, standards-based, and they use either cellular or Wi-Fi to communicate the data coming to the network. We maintain complete audit logs and also manage your internal traceability and can publish that to external systems, including electronic records. And our open architecture allows us flexibility to integrate with external systems. So taking a quick look at our field product, it's really a software designed to help you plan and manage your harvest by field. It gives you the ability to capture your traceability data, know your source slot information at the field level, and communicate that in real time using cellular connectivity. It also allows you to edit or plan harvest events from either the office or the field, depending on which groups you give that capability to. We also allow you to print the case labels when and where you need it, which means if you've got a contract order, you can print those all in the office. If it's something where you're doing a lot of spot orders or market orders that day, you may be printing most of those labels out in the field. The important part is we let you do it wherever you need to. And also, we have an intuitive user interface, very easy for people to learn, and we offer it in both English and Spanish, which accommodates a vast majority of the users that we have. The last thing here is it helps us automate the receipt at the cooler. Given we've just identified the product coming out of the cool, it's kind of redundant to enter that same information at receipt. With our system, it allows you to actually scan a pallet tag on receipt, and it will then tell the system what it is and bring it in. And of course, we have a variety of traceability reports. Now taking a quick look at our packing product. Our packing product allows you to plan and manage your packing operations and records that traceability again from source lot out to the pack lot. It supports automated inline print and apply, or you can do manual application of labels in value-add areas or slower, lower volume areas. We allow you to print case and pallet labels and again have that intuitive, fast interface in both English and Spanish, and allow you to automate your receipt into the cooler. And again, we have a variety of pack out and traceability reports. Moving on to our cooler product, which is really to manage inventory and order fulfillment. This allows you to record all product movements and locations. It then will direct the staff to the product locations for the items they're trying to fulfill. It allows you to track the consolidation or splitting of any pallets and print updated pallet tags when needed. This will be especially important as FSMA rolls in and pallet contents are very critical in knowing what lots were shipped to which customers. We also allow you to capture and record treatments that you may do to your product. This could be a pre-cool, it could be a SO2 exposure, it could be some type of gas that you needed to do before export, so any of those processes, as well as record truck inspections of the truck that the items were loaded into, as well as record the pallet positions in those trucks. It provides complete validation for your order, staging, and shipment, and also allows you to compare productivity between workers so you can see who's doing what work on a daily, weekly, or whatever time period you like basis. Another important part is we will do the physical inventory counts with mobile devices, and we allow you to quickly reconcile your inventory. And what we find is most customers, after doing this for a few weeks, realize that their perpetual inventory is very good and they only do physical inventories on items when they have a problem. Again, back to our intuitive user interface in both English and Spanish. And again, we have a variety of graphical reports. Now to the newest member of our product family, which is myproduce.com. And myproduce.com is a web-based software for managing inventory, packing, and traceability information. What's great about it is it actually takes everything from the receipt to the packing to the storage and shipping processes. It records, again, all product movements and locations. It validates order, staging, and shipping. It allows you to print your bin, case, and pallet labels. It has a nice recall preparation module that helps you understand what you've identified as product that's in a mock or real recall and what percentage of that you have accountability for. Again, a variety of graphical reports and a very intuitive user interface in both English and Spanish. So let's turn our attention for a moment to the tools of the trade or the hardware that we use. You know, probably the key thing in the starting place for all of them is the barcode printers. And what I'm showing here is a variety of different types for different environments. There's more rugged for higher volumes, there's smaller printers for lower volumes, there's even portable printers for carrying on your person. And really what's going to determine what's the best fit for these is how many labels per day you're printing and how you're using the printer itself. Again, connectivity options include USB, you can have network connectivity, you can have Bluetooth or Wi-Fi options. Now in some cases it actually makes more sense to bring the printer to the work than bring the work to the printer. And in this environment what we use are print carts where we actually have a power supply down below here, and then multiple shelves allow us to stock labels, label materials, printers, etc. Used commonly in receiving areas, also very popular in repack areas, and in consolidation and staging areas. If we look at the printer applicators as kind of the advanced version of that, they give you the capability in high volume environments to label on either the top or the side of the case. And these are really essential when you get into high volume production lines. Again, we've got multiple connectivity options for those devices. Now on the mobile computer side, these are more the handheld computers that enable you to quickly and accurately enter the information, and there's really three main form factors. There's what I affectionately call the brick style, we have the gun style where it's also known as a brick on a stick, and we also have the PDA style, which kind of made popular by the phones that we have today, so they're smaller size, but they also maintain the rugged nature so that they can survive multiple drops in a production environment. If we look at barcode scanner types, these allow you to quickly enter information into PCs or other systems. The primary ones are either cabled, and that's usually via a USB to your PC or other device, or Bluetooth scanners, which can be tied to your PC or tablet or other devices. In fixed mount situations, typically on conveyor lines is where we put these types of scanners where we're reading something like a pack code or we're reading a case ID as it goes by. And the last area here, vision systems. You know, really the vision systems allow you to use a camera to recognize distinctive marks, and it's a little bit hard to see on this one, but there's actually a little X here and a little X here that identify that these two items are what told us what we needed to know to print the right label. What you see here is an example of one mounted, and you've got some lighting on the front because with vision systems, lighting is very important. And really, these are an alternative to scanning pack codes in high volume environments. So we've talked a lot about different systems. Now let's bring it down to a practical level of what you can do. And really kind of depending on where you are now, you can decide where an appropriate starting point is. Affectionately, I call these as the crawl, walk, run scenario. And really from the crawl scenario, it's kind of the minimum implementation. You're going to need some label software, you're going to need a wedge scanner if you're going to input any of the barcodes, and you're going to need an entry-level printer. The benefits of this is it allows you to save some time in the process of labeling your product. It helps you avoid transposition errors or writer's cramp when you've got 20 bins that you've got to write tags out all manually. It also simplifies your current process by giving you a consistent professional-looking label. In these scenarios, there's really typically not a lot of data recorded, and if it is recorded, you're using this wedge scanner to perhaps either create new labels, or you might even be entering some data into one of your own spreadsheets. In our walk implementation or walk scenario, we're talking about a next level up, and now we're adding some inventory and traceability software. We're going to probably have a mid-level printer. We may still have a wedge scanner to enter data into our PCs or terminals, as well as perhaps a mobile scanner here, a mobile computer. Same benefits, save you time, avoid errors, streamline your process, but now you're actually getting comprehensive electronic data records stored, and this will be, again, very important for the FSMA era. And kind of the last scenario here, the run scenario, we're talking about where you actually have specific software for your operations. You're probably using these handheld devices in a Wi-Fi mode, so you have real-time communication back and forth to the software. You probably have a rugged industrial printer. You may have a vision system. You may actually have this connected to a grower accounting system, and we interface with both Famous and Computech. And you may even have a print and apply system for your pack lines. Again, same benefits as before, but now you've got the added benefit of data continuity between systems so that the execution system can be tied to the accounting system. So wherever you are on your automation journey, we're here to help. And if you'd like to give us a call, our number's up here. You can also shoot us an email at info@redlineforproduce.com, or just visit our website and see if there's something that's of interest to you there. You can click on a button that says Contact Us, and someone will get back to you to see if we can help you in your journey.
Excellent. Thank you, Todd. So we have a couple of questions, and anybody who's got any questions who haven't already typed them in, please feel free to type them into the bottom of the box on the right-hand side of your screen. So question here, how do wedge scanners work?
Good question. So basically, wedge scanners kind of evolved, and the term wedge just means that it's wedged in between the line of communication into the computer. So it used to be that we had keyboard keys, so you'd basically unplug the keyboard, plug one side into the wedge, and plug the other side into where the keyboard went in. Things have advanced quite a bit in the last 5 years, and now most of those keyboard wedges are just going to be a USB connection, and they can be cabled so that you've got maybe 6 to 9 feet of cable, or in situations where you're going around the pallet, it's probably better to go Bluetooth, where there's a Bluetooth connection from a base into the computer, but you're free to pull the gun out and walk around and have, somewhere in the neighborhood of a 25 to 50 foot radius in which your scans will be communicated.
Excellent, thank you.
Sure.
So another question here, how much would a basic labeling system cost?
So really, kind of looking at this, most basic labeling system, you would have some software that's about $300. You can get printers that are starting in the neighborhood of $500 to $600, and then a wedge scanner, which can be as inexpensive as about $150. So, sub $1,000 is a realistic expectation for the equipment itself, and then you'll need to get the appropriate labels in whatever volume for your application.
Excellent. And got another one here. How do print carts communicate with the software?
Good question. So in most cases with the print cart, what's happening is that you could simply put a PC on a cart and drive it straight from that PC. But in most environments where we're using this, we actually have a Wi-Fi connection, and that PC is either a Famous client that's doing receiving or doing a repack perhaps, or it could be any of your own software where you're basically just extending that using the Wi-Fi technology. So in essence, that printer is still connected to your network. It looks like any other network printer. The only difference is that it's mobile.
So we have another question about the print cart. Is the print cart able to be used in a cold storage environment, and what approximately is the battery life of that power supply?
Got it. So, on an average, first of all, for a cold storage, yes, you can use them in the cold storage. What I recommend is that you don't store them in the cold storage, which means at the end of the evening, when you're going to go plug it into the shipping office or somewhere like that, so you're not leaving it out where the moisture and condensation could eventually cause some issues. As far as the second part of the question,
for the battery life.
The battery life. So the battery life, generally what you can expect is about an 8-hour shift on one battery. The carts are available with single batteries and multiple batteries. I have one customer who does receiving all day long, and sometimes it can be 16 to 20-hour days. And we talked about getting the 2 batteries right up front, but they decided, I'm going to try with a single battery at first. And what they found was the trucks aren't lined up all day long. They do receipts and may have 4 or 5 trucks lined up. They get all those handled, get the product labeled, and then they'll wheel it back over to the office area and plug it back in. And with that, they've never run out of battery, single battery in a day. But to answer the question, really, you can plan on between 8 to 16 hours a day, depending on 1 or 2 batteries with no charge.
Thank you. So what volume of cases do I need to justify the cost of a printer applicator?
So, printer applicators, depending on the manufacturer, list price could be $17,000 or so. In general, what I look at is if you're doing 3 million cartons or more a year, and if you're running those across a line, that's probably a high enough volume for you. The other way to look at it is if you didn't have a printer applicator and you had to have a worker, each with a different label, who had keen observation skills and were able to identify the right label, the right box each time, and put the right label on it, what would that cost you? And my guess is that labor amount is going to be 6, 7, maybe 10 times higher than buying the printer applicator itself.
Okay, thank you for that. And another question, will I need an in-house ID person to run your systems?
An in-house IT person to run our systems. Some of the larger systems that interface with, a Famous or a Computech, in those scenarios, it's not uncommon that there's either IT person on site or someone who serves in that role as kind of a system administrator. So in those cases, you're going to have probably somebody there who's taking that role. They may not be a pure IT person, but they'll be taking that role. With some of our other systems like myproduce.com, we really designed it in a way so that you didn't have to have an IT person. We're actually managing the server, we're managing all the backups, we're managing all of the software on our side. So on your side, you just need to have a working PC or tablet with a browser.
Okay, another question here. You talked about vision systems. Can you speak a little bit more about what you can recognize with a vision system, why you'd use a vision system?
Sure. So with a vision system, there's different types, and there's certainly some that will recognize OCR print. We're typically not doing that. When we look at most boxes of produce, you're going to have some areas where there might be check boxes that you mark off to identify the size. Sometimes in stone fruit or other areas, they'll use stamps on a box that tell us what the quantity is per box. And usually between a logo, a stamp, and a box that identifies the size, we're able to just see that there is a presence of something on the label or on the box in the right location, and those locations then tie back to a specific pack style. That's how we're able to have multiple products coming down the line at the same time and get the right label on each box every time.
Excellent answer. So last question here. I have Famous software. Can that be used with your systems?
Yeah, Famous is one that we interface with, and actually across field, packing, and cooler. We've already have customers who we're running with Famous, and in some of the other systems, you don't have to have a system like Famous. So you could actually, in our packing system, or in our field system, or in My Produce, simply run the software standalone, and we will work with you on getting whatever data you have available from external systems.
Okay, so that's the last of the questions. Thank you ever so much, everybody, for tuning in. We will be having the next webinar coming up in April. We haven't honed down exactly what we're going to be discussing, but we will send everybody out an email notifying of that webinar when we get it set up. And also, as I mentioned earlier on, this webinar has been recorded and it will be placed on our website later on this week. So thanks a lot for tuning in. Thank you, Todd, for a great session, and we will talk to you soon. Have a good day.